to the podcast. And today we are diving into something every organization struggle with. How do you actually build and manage people at scale without losing the human element? Our guest today has spent over 3 decades figuring out exactly that from the inside. He started deep in the world of manufacturing and total quality management, literally starting at the blast furnace and all the way to boardrooms. He is a part of key decision-making teams at Jindal Steel, JSW, Ambuja Cement, Dr. Reddy's, and Tata Steel. He's also been involved in two Deming Prize, one of the most respected quality awards in the world. Today, he is the founder of P3, People, Process and Productivity, where he consults and works on the business transformation. Sir, please welcome Mr. Pankaj Lochan. Before we are going to start, I will introduce my batchmates, Ms. Himani from the marketing background.
Hello, sir.
Rajesh,
Hi, Mani. Hi,
Rajesh,
Rajesh.
Lohit, and Ritesh from the manufacturing background, and Banojit from the media background.
Hi.
So, for further discussion, Himani will ask the question. Himani, please start.
Thank you, Ritesh, and thank you, sir, for joining us. I know you have a busy schedule. It's very hard to make out time, but thank you very much. So, not taking much time of yours, we'll start off with the very core essence of any organization, that is culture, right? So, every company talks about culture, but in your experience, what is it that defines culture? Like, it's defined by what leaders consistently reward, ignore, or tolerate. What's one behavior that quietly shapes an organization's culture more than what people actually realize?
So I think it's what leaders exhibit. So we exist for the customer. I mean, in any sector, be it manufacturing or any kind of value stream, an organization exists because there is a customer and there is a quality. So when we talk about customer and quality together, quality is not something just about product or service quality. It's about the quality of interactions, the quality of touch and feel. So I think the way leaders exhibit quality in their behavior, starting from how they value the whole set of ethics, how they value, let's say, generational issues, which I think is a very growing concern these days. So I would say it is what leaders exhibit rather than, um, just about, the conventional aspects of, quality.
Thank you, sir. As you have already mentioned that there is a change in culture like Gen Z workforce, and you briefly mentioned about it. So, what do you think? Gen Z is often criticized for like strict work-life balance boundaries, and while senior leaders they grew up in a different timeline and different culture of hustle. So, how do you lead a multi-generational workforce when they don't even agree on what hard work looks like?
Okay, so there are different stratifications. One is a generational stratification that you just mentioned, which is about Gen Zs and the millennials and the, what do we call us? The
Gen Alpha.
Generation X.
Hmm.
Certainly not baby boomers. We are the Generation X that built half of America. But coming back to your point, you should deal with stratification the same way, or a generational stratification exactly the same way as you deal with organizational level stratifications. You don't talk to a worker the same way you talk to a supervisor, and not the same way you talk to a line manager and a middle manager. Their scorecards are different. Their manifestations at work are different. Their KRAs are different. What needs to be done to grapple with this problem that is looming large at our country today is that everybody is resigning to Gen Z saying that they don't work hard, they have their aura goes for a bad, in 2 days and things like that. So I've been quietly hearing about it, but our our previous generation also dealt with us the same way. So why don't we deal with them the same way? They are good at something. They're not good at the accountability as we define it, but they're good at being accountable for, let's say, at task level, or let's say at a business objective level. So we should focus on that. Make them accountable, give them more freedom that than we have been receiving. Possibly, we always like to give, let's say, freedom the same way as we have got, or the way we expect. Our expectations might not be really scientific, because I deal with Gen Zs the same way as I deal with the difference between a worker and a supervisor. You have that if the tasks are scientific, if the tasks are have mathematical outcomes, let them do what, and end of the day you can hold them accountable for the task done, not done, objective achieved, not achieved, strategy deployed, not deployed. I think the discussion should rest there, and then we should say that they are less productive or more productive. Hope that works for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could see some smiles on the faces, when I was
Yes.
not stereotyping Gen Zs. Okay.
So the question came actually from our batch itself, because we have a lot of people who comes from Gen Z generation. So it was a question from personal experience as well. So thank you for answering that. Uh, Moving on, I would like to ask about the evolving culture of hybrid work and the visibility of the work that you're doing, right? So my question is full-time remote work secretly a career dead end for anyone who actually wants to reach like CXO's position going forward? Or is it a possibility for them to move up the corporate ladder? Because visibility is something that we keep talking about in any company. So what is your opinion on that?
The answer is the same as the previous one. Remote versus hybrid versus on-site work. Today, it is being perceived in terms of perceived performance. I repeat, it is being perceived in terms of perceived performance. And why is the apparition different from real? Because of accountability. If your JDs are clear, if your KPIs are clear, and your KRAs are clear, and your outputs are defined on a weekly basis, how does it matter where you work from? So if you're, and what exactly is my last book, which released last week. It's called about the architecture of performance, deals exactly with that. And those who would understand what I just said can just do away with the whole issue around hybrid work versus real work and unreal work. Because if there is a weekly deliverable to be met, and it has got that's why I said it's same as the previous answer. If a KRA has a defined goal for the week, or let's say if let's say unit of measure can't be week, suppose fortnight or a month or a quarter, and if you're delivering from home because your sense of responsibility is higher than the one sitting at site and going for 5 cigarette breaks and 5 coffee breaks, I don't consider this to be a problem at all. And this is where we Gen X and the millennials have to wake up and understand, right? So our grandfathers used to wear dhotis, our fathers switched to pants, but they criticize us for jeans because we started with jeans. But they transitioned from dhotis to pants and nobody objected to that. So every generation looks at the next generation with their viewpoint. I look at them objectively. You are paid, you're getting paid, you have to deliver. If the delivery is fine, you can come with a polo t-shirt or even a tee. It doesn't matter to me as long as you're doing your work. So you need not have a formal, a shirt. So I just kind of, I think I answered your question, right?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely, sir. So the question arose largely because post-COVID, a lot of companies also asked people to work from office. So that's why the question remained important for discussion.
And an objective answer to that question, though I think I explained it, but an objective answer to a question is if work is measured properly.
Yes.
Today, the way you talk to your boss also is a factor of measurement. But suppose your work was objectively measured, you have certain deliverables for the week, and you are meeting all of them, mutually agreed deliverable with your manager, right? And if you have delivered on all of them from remote, how does it matter? So I am completely in favor of remote work because it ensures it should, and plus it should ensure that the organization has an objective, performance measurement system or the performance management system. So if an organization is complaining about non-performance due to hybrid or remote work, it does not reflect on the employee. It reflects on the performance management system that the HR has to institute in the company. If my follow-ups are on a daily basis and my deliverables are kind of reconciled on a weekly basis, then where is the question arise? In fact, you should be thankful that you're saving on fuel every day, that you're, avoiding, kind of bringing down the rush in the metros every day. So again, just to kind of summarize what I said, if the performance management system starts with a good JD, a good KPI, and a good KRA, then actually it doesn't matter because your deliverables are reconciled on a weekly basis and you have tight performance reviews to make that happen. I think that's also an important point, that you should have tight performance reviews, which is a part of the performance management system. So this is a PMS question and not really a hybrid or a a workplace presence question. Does that answer your question?
Yes, definitely. So, as you mentioned that there needs to be like weekly performance reviews and daily performance reviews, I think that's where AI is also helping us nowadays with so many innovations coming up. So my next question is on AI and the decay of the technical skills, right? So the data shows that half-life of the technical skills is now down to under 3 years because of the AI development. And if hard skills expire that fast, then what human capability are you actually hiring for today?
We were never hiring for today. The transience of the job role doesn't really, the problem hasn't started today. The transience existed there also. It's so my I'll give you a kind of a philosophical answer here, then give you an objective one. The transience of job roles was always there. When computers came in one generation before us, there were people not waking up to the call, and then there were some who were, they progressed faster. It's about your, again, your performance deliverables impacting the performance deliverables that are getting impacted, drawing from those changes. AI should not be treated as a buzzword and trying to confuse people. If that job role, so I would classify the job roles today and then answer this question. There are three kinds of job roles today. One, which is hard skill sets which do not really get impacted from this. The second, where there could be improvements with AI, and then there are clear roles which get updated because of AI, or they won't exist tomorrow. I think the focus should be on the third one and not really on the first one. We are fussing about the first one, which is not appropriate. An analyst job changes today, but the welder's job doesn't change today, right? Right? The supervisor of the welder's job also doesn't change. Half of India exists in the manufacturing sector. We forget that. We only think of it from a service sector perspective, startups and software. How much of that is India? Or I would say, how much of India is there? Larger India is in the manufacturing sector where one company has 5 lakh employees. So if I answer from that perspective, nothing is changing. It's only the speed of analysis is changing for the analysts or those roles. For manufacturing, really at the shop floor, nothing is changing. Yes. So again, going back to the division saying that not impacted improvements can happen with impact, and then completely impacted or replaced. We should devise a strategy for the third one and not really fuss about everything. Not everything is going to change. The farmer is still going to grow crops. AI can only make it better for him with information sharing and knowledge management.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. So, from what I have gathered is that the future looks optimistic for all the workers, and we should not be worried so much about AI with the fear that
So
is there.
I always say, and I urge people to come to manufacturing. You won't have these problems. So join manufacturing.
That's
You know,
that.
the I'll digress. I'll just take 60 seconds. I digress a little bit. Possibly you'll find it very useful. You know what has happened to Europe today? They decided everything would be white collar, nothing would be blue collar. Look at their fate today. The next one that is going to join the bandwagon is US. Today it is saved because of its whole pharma business. Tomorrow, when the manufacturing completely dies off, India and China will lead the show.
Yes.
And here, AI is going to help. AI is not going to create problems.
And we are
So
also
AI for me is a very welcome. Yeah.
yeah, we are also
Sorry,
getting
you were saying.
this kind of report that India is going to be next China because we are also into very aspiring for the steel production. Uh,
Yes. Steel, we are
so,
already number two
oh,
and
sorry.
ahead of double of the third largest
Yes.
country. But China is way ahead of us. But in a democratic setup, doing what China doesn't is not allowed because the kind of subsidies and freebies they give just to kind of increase their manufacturing productivity may not be really good in long term. I think India's growth story in manufacturing is the real thing to follow.
The other take on the side is that even in India, the blue collar jobs are reducing. There are not many people who are coming to do that job because either they have a fancy towards other sectors or the wage is not up to the expectations of the people. So, what is your view in terms of how can India improve the blue collar employment rates or encourage people to come into more manufacturing?
Good question. I think I have grappled with this myself because people have been telling me that why are you in manufacturing? You are an IT and you should have been either in the Silicon Valley or in Bangalore doing some software jobs. Two answers to this question. One is completely in line with what you asked in terms of data and science. So manufacturing today is perceived as something difficult, physically difficult to do, and that
Yes.
is why people are running away. It's not really the salary that matters. There are two things which the other sectors do not have as manufacturing has. Your growth is linear, right? You grow from a, let's say, a line manager to a middle manager to a senior manager to a leadership team to a CXO level. That's how you grow. You every day you add value to your role and you grow both in terms of compensation and value. In most of the other sectors, it could be step up or step down also. The kind of camaraderie that you enjoy in a manufacturing sector, the kind of support system you have, induces less stress. It is physically more stressful. Ritesh would vouch for that. And physically more stressful and mentally less stressful because you have a whole support system. In single line deliverable kind of startups, or you get quick success. But if you look at a 30-year lifespan, which most of you are going to spend, and look at the kind of ailments that you have at the age of 50, if I do a quick survey of all batchmates who passed out of my batch, that's why I said this answer is slightly different. Most of them had diabetes or blood pressure by the age of 40, and none of my guys in manufacturing have that till today because we keep walking, we keep moving around. That's how God has designed the human being. You find this lucrative in short term, but what does it do you on your on your day, on the day you find your body not to be fit enough? So I think that's something that is not that is what UK, sorry, let's say Europe was infested with. And you see what happened today. They have kind of subordinated the entire manufacturing to the third world countries, which they call, and now very soon they will become the first world countries. The other aspect of um, manufacturing versus the other sectors is that with AI, manufacturing life will become easier with time, and that's my the ray of hope that I see for manufacturing becoming more and more lucrative over a period of time.
And manufacturing sector is also very adapting the fast-moving AI. We have also seen in the blast furnaces and the steel making that we are using
Machine
AI
learning,
tools. Yes.
machine learning plus AI together,
Yes, sir.
AI and ML together is going to do a lot of it'll make life easy. It'll
Yes.
create redundancies so to some extent, as I said, but more importantly, it will, and of course, AI ML plus automation,
Yes.
physical automation, that will help. Uh, that the previous answer was more about a long term view of human health also.
Thank you so much, sir. So, we have deep dive into the fear of jobs because of onset of AI. But what we have not spoken about is the voluntary quitting of jobs by people, which is an upcoming trend, which is called quiet quitting, right? So when an employee quiet quits or disengages, leadership usually blames their work ethic and say maybe they are lazy, maybe they do not want to work, and maybe they are not hardworking. When you see disengagement spike in a business unit, what is usually the real failure that you see which is under the surface?
What you mentioned as the most talked about reason falls under communication, right? I would address another part of communication, which again I said the JD, KPI, and the KRA. Communication is not about understanding what the employee has to say or what you have to say as an employer and the employer-employee relationship. Communication is about clearly communicating the deliverables, providing resources for it. That's a healthy setup, an ideal setup where you have a certain job role defined in your JD. You have KPIs assigned, and then you have KRS, which basically are goals, the weekly goals, the monthly goals, and the annual goals, or the quarterly and the annual goals. The quitting. So I've been kind of thinking this whole philosophically. Why does quitting happen? Who are the people who leave? High potential people who leave. People generally join companies and leave because of managers. You will rarely find an employee leaving unless you are at a CXO level. Rarely employees leave because of companies. They leave managers, but they join companies. And this dichotomy stems from the fact that while you might have a good performance management system, you might have a manager who really does not understand that. Quiet quitting is all about uh, not body shaming yourself, not saying that I'm not physically fit. It's about refusing to take the blame that you're calling me incapable. I am not incapable. I am capable, so I'm quitting. It's a very silent way of doing that. And where does it come from? It's unclear expectations, the mismatch between what the manager has to ask and what the employee has to deliver. It's 99% of those cases are there. And that 1% or 2% might be because of a psychiatric issue. That's kind of growing in that, and it could be externally forced also. So quiet quitting has a very small percentage of external issues, which turns up to have very high to inability to take higher levels of stress, and that's why I called it a specific psychiatric issue. Because the generation, maybe if you have time I can explain this. The generation before us treated us like children and gave us opportunity, and at the same time we used to be reprimanded when things went wrong. The current generation that has just started working has not been exposed to that. So at home you're treated like a it's just showering love, not really taking you through the hardships of life. And that's where the middle class of India is really going bad. And when that child becomes an employee, it's unable to take criticism, it's unable to handle that. And so that's why I said I brought in that very obnoxious word called psychiatric issue, because I consider it to be psychiatric. And the parent, I will blame the parentage for not allowing the children to go through the stresses at an early age. Our shastras say panchvarsha ladayat tat paschat tadayat, which means till 5 years of age do not chide your children and do not leave them after 5 if they do mistakes. This is a 10,000-year-old wisdom. We have forgotten this. Even me as a father, I have forgotten this. I teach, but when I go back home, it's only one-sided love. You don't ask questions. You don't. If anything goes wrong, you don't question as to why it has happened. Oh, wow, it's okay. It's okay. So with the children, when they go out, they're not able to handle criticism because they have not been criticized at home. See, I'm trying to answer your questions in little unconventional ways, but you'll find them useful.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, a little more discussion deep diving into it, sir. As you said, the employer-employee contract has been now fundamentally changed. But there used to be a time where the employee loyalty was rewarded. But in today's day of quiet quitting or moonlighting, or with the Gen Z culture of bouncing from here and there just to get a better growth or just to get a better package, so how does it impact the organizations as a whole, and how does it impact the individuals in the long run?
It does not impact either. My take on this is very unconventional and very different. And again, the panacea to all problems that I see is with the definition of the JD and the KPI and the KRA. Quick answer to your question is that it doesn't impact either, because if you have defined it well and if you have a good employee transition process, it should happen. Second, and the more important point here is that while you are blaming loyalty in terms of number of years or number of months of stay, why don't you quantify loyalty as the number of hours delivered per hour? I stay for 1 year, I bring the EBITDA to double. There's another manufacturing head who stays for 10 years and the CAGR is 8%, which just beats the inflation. Who's better?
That's an
I
interesting.
delivered, so number of hours per hour.
Hmm.
कितना देते हो, कितने दिन दिया वो important नहीं है. There is somebody who will chip in if the JDs are proper. You have a 3 month notice period. You make sure that your hiring and the onboarding happens in 3 months. Finished. Why is there so much fuss about it? Because you don't have a scientific transition process. Because the people who are doing it are lazy. You
Yes.
should have an identified talent pool for every role now. If your talent pool is identified and you have a 3 month notice period, also if you have early warning signs, which is EWS, you can onboard the employee now. By the notice period onboard, you have a good smooth transition process. Even if you don't, the manager takes over and hands over to the next guy or the next individual. So there should not be so much fuss about it. This is the order of the day. Let's wake up to it and design mechanisms that will make it work rather than fussing about it and blaming the Gen Zs for it, or I really do. I find it very distasteful when somebody blames the Gen Zs,
Okay.
because you brought them up that way and now you're blaming. Back home, you handle your children with care, but the same thing, same manifestation at office is not allowed because it's somebody else's child. Got it?
Thank you, sir. I mean, I'm really glad you brought it up, because we as a generation, and especially in the conventional sectors or the manufacturing sectors, we face with this comment that you need to spend some 2, 4, 6 years on the line and then you'll understand these things, or the ideas are not encouraged, or they just come and say upfront that you will just leave within 1 year. Why should we teach you anything? So we do face these things very, very frequently on the shop floors.
So employee, I think 60 seconds more on this. Employee capability building in our times was really better because today's generation of managers, which is not Gen Zs, they do not spend time on building people. Back home, you spend 18 years on your child and don't ask questions as to why the child is not earning after nursery and not after KG. But with your employee, you don't want to spend even 1 day training. Next day, you want delivery. So the problem is from the previous generation and not from the current generation. I build capability of my people. I first invest in them. I train them, and they don't leave. Anybody who works with me doesn't leave. And if they leave, I'm very happy about it because they're getting a step jump somewhere. So either way, I think this is absurd. And when you point one finger like this, there are four fingers pointing towards yourself. And I think this generation of managers must stop blaming people and think about what they have to do about it. Design their performance management system properly and understand that their ethics was also different from the previous generation. And so it is allowed for every generation to change their ethics or their definition of ethics.
Hi, sir. Just a follow-up question. It's a bit different. So, over the years during your tenure, when there was a push for the gender diversity, have you seen, were you surprised by any instance where things did not go as expected? It could be in a positive way or the negative way.
I think I never dealt with being a father of a daughter myself. I've never dealt with that in a different way. Again, it's performance ethics. If the employee is delivering, either way, it's okay. I mean, you should just measure the performance and talk about talk about performance rather than just talking about whether it's suitable for that role or not. Other there were times when in manufacturing, girls were not allowed or ladies were not allowed to work in shifts. If I leave that instance behind, or let's say if I leave that situation behind, for the rest, the platter is open to everybody, and it's about performance. And in general, I don't see a problem in that, and so problem never happens to me as a manager because I don't see it as a problem because I measure delivery. If you measure delivery, you'll objectively not find a problem with creating a larger share of women employees in your let's say workplace or either way.
Understood, sir.
Engrossing with you. Your experience is amazing, and the way you put your clarity in thoughts and the way in which you have shared us HR lessons and also life lessons is actually very inspiring. We'll have one final question to you. You are one of the very few CHROs who have transitioned to a CEO today. You run your own firm. So I just wanted your take on why do you think not many CHROs have become CEOs, and what do you think a CHRO today has to do to make that change?
HR should focus on measuring performance, and when the HR team or the CHRO focuses more on measuring performance, they can do it themselves in their own walks of life.
Thank you so much, sir. Very insightful. I think what we'll take away from this entire conversation is that measuring outcomes, measuring deliveries is really, really important. That is a clear takeaway. And I'm sure we'll insist the people to go ahead and read your books. That will also give us a knowledge about the KPIs, outcomes, achieving it. And you as a business owner is also
One,
inspiring. Architecture of performance. Yeah, great.
read
So
this, it will clarify all your doubts for life.
yeah, that is another takeaway where HR doesn't stop here. HR lessons are actually the life lessons which we'll take forward to. Thank you so much for your time today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Have a good evening, sir.
Bye.